about the Messi thing?
Anything else on the Messi front, Chris, before we move on?
No, I'm done. I'm
I'm falling out. I told you, I never want to bring this guy's name up again.
I don't know, man. This Messi thing is just a freaking mess. What a disaster.
I don't want to hear this name ever again until it's official. But they got me back.
No question about it. I am ready to get hurt again.
Chris, the Herons are back. And Todd is in the back room.
Yes.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 66 of the Battered Herons podcast. I am one of your hosts, Daniel Granada. Alongside me, as always, is Mr. KBD. How are you doing, sir?
Well, I'm not as good as the Todd father, for sure.
Oh, no, for sure.
Because he is, I am elated. I am elated. My son walks away in the 80th minute. He's like, I already know what the score is going to be. I'm like, you don't know what the score is going to be. So I sent him to his room.
Well, we came on a little later because we wanted to make sure that we got to record right after the 7:30 games, and more specifically the Philadelphia-Orlando game. One, because we hate Orlando. Two, because our guest Todd Lewis is obviously a Philadelphia Union podcaster. I can't remember if he is a Philadelphia Union fan. I think he is.
Yeah,
but,
he is.
A lot of people get offended when we say, "Oh, yeah, you do a podcast, so you're a fan." They're like, "No, I'm not a fan." So I'm gonna ask him that. But definitely, I'm sure he's elated right now. So let's bring on Todd. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, Daniel and Chris. Great to be back on the show. And wow, your son, Chris. It's a good thing you sent him to his ring, right? I mean, you never know. And this is the first for me, I think, to record right after a game. And Jose Martinez scores a worldie,
banger,
first career
banger.
He hits it first time. 35 yards out? Unbelievable. And Union fans, I mean, Union Twitter right now is like flipping out. And I kind of wish that we would have seen Jose Martinez score that goal at home, because every time that he's come close, people in the press box like freak out, like, oh my gosh, like he's getting closer and closer. And he goes out and pulls out that, like, of course his first goal was going to be a worldie. Like, nothing's going to beat that.
Yeah, that was amazing.
I mean, you guys lucked out when they took off that third goal off the board for Orlando, though, no?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I had a feeling that was coming off, though. Coming off.
I mean, it felt like there was some breaks for Orlando and for you guys. That was a weird game, honestly, because I felt like there was a goal by Carranza that he should have got it in the back of the net. And
obviously, Uwer had a chance in like the 48th minute. Glesnes plays a great ball over the top. Uwer gets in behind, and goalkeeper makes a good save on the ball there. I mean, the Carranza goal you just brought up, the Union go down. Good save by Straderhauer, the goalkeeper for Orlando. And then Orlando go and score the second goal of the game. I mean, you just can't make that stuff up. And credit to the Philadelphia Union, right, for just having that belief that, hey, look, we're down by 2 goals, and they tie the game up. And like you guys said, Into Miami podcast, you guys love that just as much as us Union fans love that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Watching Orlando lose is a highlight for me, especially when Inter Miami isn't playing. I mean, that's what I look forward to. But real quick, before we get into Philadelphia, I did want to touch on the fact that nobody is talking about the fact that Miami is riding a 6-game losing streak. And we're going into Philadelphia, which is one of obviously the better teams in the league. And there's a real chance that we could go on a 7-game losing streak, which would be a record for this franchise. And if you think about it, we play Austin, which isn't a great team. Then we play DC, and then I believe we play St. Louis after that. We have a shot at ending this first half of the season. I mean, I know it's a little more than the first half of the season, but ending this part of the season in a big hole. And I know everybody's like, well, Messi's on the team. We're not that far off from the playoffs. We shouldn't worry too much.
That's now.
I was looking at it. Miami has 15 points. And we've been saying, oh, they're 6 points off. They're 7 points off. They're 8 points off. At this moment, we're 8 points off of the 9th seed. And if we continue to lose, that hole is going to get bigger and bigger. And I don't know if Messi can fill that. We don't want to build a hole too big that Messi can't climb out of. And I think that's the hardest part right now is the fact that, Messi's coming with friends, but is it going to be enough to make up the hole that it seems like we're making for ourselves? What do you think, Chris?
Well, I mean, you're right about that. There's no doubting that, and I don't know what Fitchy is referring to
Yes.
when it.
The thumbnail I put is we're trying to avoid disaster because we're digging ourselves a pretty big hole right now, and if we continue to lose, that hole will only get bigger, and the playoffs are going to be just a pipe dream at that point.
And look at Dennis Rodman saying open cup or bust. I mean, it seems like that's like legit the only thing that we have going for us at this moment, with a FC Cincinnati waiting for us.
Yeah, no, and the fact that we have MC Cincinnati as that team that we're playing against is rough.
Yeah, for sure.
Todd, before we get into Saturday's game, obviously I have to ask you your thoughts on the news of the month. What were your thoughts when you heard Messi is finally officially coming to the MLS and more specifically into Miami?
I mean, I talked about this briefly on my podcast, and at this point, like, what can I say that other people haven't said already, right? And I'm sure you guys feel
jealous
the same way. Am I jealous? No, I'm happy. I'm glad that Messi finally came. I'm a little bit jealous that he's not going to be at the game this Saturday because full disclosure, I have season tickets, and I was really looking forward to making $1,000 plus on those season tickets, but unfortunately, Messi's not going to be able to be registered in time. So maybe you guys get into the playoffs and I can sell playoff tickets then. But I was wondering this a little bit earlier, and I don't know if I've listened to anybody on podcasts speak about this. And that is, you guys know how MLS teams give the away supporters a certain amount of tickets for away games. And so those tickets aren't going to be price gorged. At least I don't think they would. Maybe a little bit, but they're not going to be the $500+ we're seeing tickets go for, right? I mean, that would just be insane if MLS teams decide to do that to traveling away supporters.
It would be brutal.
I mean, if they did that, I mean, the serious questions need to be asked, and I guess anything could be possible, right? I mean, you guys see the conversations that some teams are discussing going to football stadiums to make as much money when Messi comes away. I mean, you guys are talking about potentially playing at Hard Rock for some of your games too, just to capitalize on all that money you guys could potentially bring in there. So I haven't seen a lot of people bringing up the fact that, those away supporters could potentially, buy their tickets and then sell them, or, how's that going to work, right? Because you would imagine that, okay, people want to see Messi, and they might try to get their hands on those away supporter tickets just to see Messi because they're cheaper. How are clubs going to deal with that? I'm curious how all that's going to work. And I had that thought today when I was coming on your podcast.
That's a great question, and I hadn't considered that. And while we're talking, I'm going to text somebody from one of those supporters groups to see if they have any information on that.
Well,
see if I can get some info right now.
While you text him, I mean, we had a person that's like heavily representing one of the biggest supporter groups here for Inter Miami, for Vice City, and he had mentioned to us essentially that that there's a lot of people, an influx of new fans that are signing up to be in the supporter group because they know that that's going to be the most affordable way to watch the game. And I imagine that they are allotted some sort of amount of tickets. But if they have so many tickets and way more supporters, I don't know how they're going to divide that. And it goes to show, like what you were saying, people that are coming to Miami to watch their team on an away game, I imagine that they're having the same sort of deal where basically they're going to give this group some sort of discounted way of being able to get tickets. I mean, obviously, I don't think anybody's going to pay $1,000 per ticket, especially when you're traveling. And Danny, I know he's working on trying to get a little bit more information, but
I sent the message to two different people. Let's see if they get back to us.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know for our supporter group, and for our supporter groups, they have an allotted amount of tickets for their spaces. I just don't know how that works versus memberships that they have.
I think that the prices that keep being reported though, and they're circulating around the news, is kind of ridiculous. Like I keep saying, like, oh, this ticket's going for $50, like 20,000, 25,000. Like it's silly. Nobody's gonna pay that much money to go see Messi in person. Like I know, and some people have compared it to the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is one game.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, but last year he filled up Hard Rock Stadium when it was Argentina against like Honduras or something. Yeah, but back then we thought that watching Messi play live here in the United States was once or twice in a lifetime. Now there's a chance he plays in the United States for the next 2.5 years, up to almost 100 games. Like it's not as special going to watch him play. Now I know that very first game is technically special, and I know that those tickets probably going to be the most expensive. But I think those prices that people are putting out there are just ridiculous. I don't think anybody's gonna be spending $15,000 to be at that game.
Well, and Danny, and not to cut you off here. I don't know if you were going to jump in, Todd, but Danny has tickets to the first potential game the first announced game for Messi,
July 21st. Yep,
July 21st against Cruz Azul in the Leagues Cup. And if you go looking for tickets for that game, Todd, it is astronomical. I don't know if you saw it, Todd, but it is ridiculous.
That's why I'm a little bit jealous, right? I mean, I'd 100% sell those tickets. I mean, it's a special moment. Messi's first ever game for Miami in the Leagues Cup, which that's a whole different debate we don't have to get into.
Right.
But I don't know. It's like, how can you go out here and make that much money that quickly? I mean, like, I would sell it. Like I told you guys, I'm jealous that Messi's not going to be here this Saturday, because I would 100% sell my tickets. And then another thought I had, and I saw somebody bring this up on Twitter when it was announced Messi was officially coming. What's this going to do for people like myself, freelance journalists, that get coverage, that have no problems getting into the press box? Now you're going to have more bigger national media trying to get into the press box because they want to be there for Messi. So how's that going to work? Are they going to kick all the people that have been there? I know there's a lot of freelance people in Miami right now that are covering this team. They've been covering this team since day one. Are they going to get pushed aside for the bigger people? Potentially. And I'm sure we'll see that all along MLS. There's press boxes. I don't know what the situation's like in Miami, but some of those press boxes that I've been into aren't that big. Philadelphia's, I think, only holds 34 people. And I remember a couple years ago during, I forget what playoff game it was, like they had so many people apply for press credentials. They started putting other outlets in like the owner suites and whatnot just to get them in there covering the team. So would other teams potentially do something like that? Potentially. When I was in Colorado a few weeks ago, limited space there. And I'm sure that's probably the same for a lot of these MLS stadiums. They have limited amount of space. The stadiums aren't huge. You guys see that right now at Pink Dry Stadium, right? And there's talks that you guys could potentially expand, which would kind of be wild. That's not even going to be a permanent stadium.
Yeah, but they are going to add 3,000 seats. They're going to add the corner seats because we have our corners are open. All four corners are open. All three quarters are open, and they said that they're going to add 3,000 seats before the 21st of July. So they must be hard at work at it right now. I mean, I live an hour away from the stadium, so I have no way to drive by and see what the progress is on that. I don't know if anybody in the chat has maybe had a chance that maybe lives closer to see what's going on with that. But as of right now, that's the plan. 3,000 seats that are going to be added, and I mean, I guess you get to accommodate 3,000 more people, but that's still not enough to kind of satisfy the hunger there is to be at that game, at least those first couple games.
Yeah, for sure. But let me go back to your original question, right? And answer this a little bit more serious. I think this is great for MLS. I think this is going to bring, we see, right, you guys joke, Messi and friends, which one of Messi's friends are going to come over and join him. But I think not only that, I think we're going to see younger talent want to come to MLS and say, hey, look, I want to play in a league with Messi. And I talked about this on my podcast too, where Kai Wagner, the Philadelphia Union's left back, his contract's up at the end of the season. I asked him about that, and he said, this could potentially be my last season in Philadelphia. Well, maybe he resigns because he wants to play in a league against Messi. He plays on the East Coast, could see Messi 2 times, maybe 3 times if they meet in the playoffs. Julian Carranza is a player that's been heavily linked to European teams here the last couple of weeks with reported interest from Europa League teams. Could he say, hey, look, I want to stay an extra year just to play against my idol, Messi? He's not shied away from that being his idol. And I feel like we're going to see a lot of young players, whether they're already in the league or younger players wanting to come to MLS just to play with Messi or against Messi?
Well, I think you have you make a great point there. I think that people aren't talking enough about the impact this will have on the MLS as a whole. It's going to help this league grow exponentially. People are going to want to play here, and the hunger to go play in Europe. Though Carranza will go off and he'll play in a bottom of the table Spanish team. I can't think of anybody. Granada, for example, my last name. He'll go and accept it, go play just to say he's playing in La Liga. Well, when you start seeing that the MLS is growing, that the money's growing, the salary cap goes up a bit. They add a fourth DP spot. More names are coming. Like, I think that helps keep those people here a little longer. And I agree with you. I think that that's going to help in the long run because people are quick to jump to Europe at the first chance, no matter what chance that is. Like I said, somebody will jump to it was Tati Castellanos. Didn't he end up in a second division team in La Liga? Like, it wasn't even the top league. And that you might stop seeing that now, and they'll stay in the MLS because the MLS is going to continue to grow with talent. And honestly, I think the reputation is going to grow a lot more over the next few years also.
Yeah, Tati was loaned to Girona, which is a part of the City Footballing Group's network of clubs. They play in La Liga, so he did actually get to play in La Liga.
So he was okay. So it was La Liga. I know he put up 4 on Real Madrid, and that was beautiful. What were you gonna say, Chris? I saw you about to say something.
No, I mean, what I was gonna say. Remember, we had Tommy Two Time on the show a couple weeks ago, or about a week or so ago, and he was talking about how he thinks that sooner rather than later the MLS can be able to fend for like a top spot within all the leagues in the world. I mean, listen, I could realistically see that. I mean, there are some pretty big names, some nice names that are actually interested, and we're talking about we're fresh off of a month of Messi sort of committing to the MLS. So I don't think it's that far-fetched to what Tommy Two Time was saying, Danny.
No, and as I was speaking, I'm sorry to change the subject, but I needed to address Mr. Fax real quick because I saw Mr. Fax running and saying that we needed a good goalkeeper. We have what could be, I would say, top 3 possibly in the league, right? Goalkeepers in the league. And he said, looking at the standings, it's not true. I'm going to tell you, if he wasn't part of this team, our goal differential would be a lot worse.
1,000.
Our defense has not been very good.
We'd be
he is leading the league in saves. Okay, and we're gonna get into Philadelphia right now. So for those of you that are new, because I know a lot of new people to the channel that are new to the MLS, our defense isn't very good. Our goalkeeper is great. To tell you how bad our defense is, we've surrendered the second most shots against in the league. And Drake Callender, our goalie, is leading the league in saves. How bad is our defense? The Philadelphia Union, the team that we are about to play, have only faced 54 shots against. Drake Callender has saved 67 all on his own. He has saved more shots.
This guy's Spider-Man.
13 more shots than Philadelphia has actually seen against their team altogether. Like, our goalie is good, and Philadelphia's defense is also good. And I guess that's a perfect segue into Philadelphia.
And just so we can also let Mr. Fax know, look, it's no big deal, man. If you're new into the team, welcome. Just check some of the games out so you can see how good of a goalkeeper we do have and how terrible our defense is, because if it wasn't for him, we'd be getting outscored like 100-0 every single game. Guaranteed.
I didn't sound like I was being rude, Mr. Fax. That's not what I meant.
No. But I know that the guys in the chat, they're gonna go a little crazy, and I just want to tone it down. Just let everybody know, hey, there's some new people here, so
I wanted to get into Philadelphia, but you brought up spiders, and I don't know, Todd, did you hear about this story about our backup goalie, the one that I think is the highest paid backup in the league?
And you guys see his comments on Messi a couple of weeks ago?
Yes, I did. And I mean, they were all factual. We aren't ready for it. Like, we've attended a tailgate a couple of weeks ago, and the Green Lot. Shout out to Green Lot guys. The tailgate is literally next to the entrance of the training center. So as we're tailgating, I'm not exaggerating, Todd.
Players are walking from the training center
10 to 15 feet away from us. They're walking from the training center to the stadium. No security, They're just walking. We wave at them, give them one of these, they give one of these back, and just keep walking. This team is not ready. This team is not ready for Messi. Like, they have a full month. Like, today's June 21st. They have till July 21st to get ready. But Nick Marsman wasn't wrong. This team isn't ready for Messi right now.
I don't think this league is, honestly.
No.
Quick story I can give you guys. I mean,
go for it. Yeah.
2021, we played Club America, and they're obviously the biggest club here in the continent. And they completely took over Subaru Park, where Philadelphia Union play, which is no surprise, I think, to anybody who knows how big of a club Club America is here in North America. Mm-hmm. And during the game, before the game, I mean, to get to the stadium, there's a couple different ways, but one of the main entrances, you come off of the bridge, and traffic was stopped. Like, from the bridge to the stadium, you're probably less than 0.5 miles from the stadium.
Can't you see the bridge from the stadium?
Yeah. Yeah, you see it in the background. Exactly.
Yeah.
It took me an hour and a half to get from that point parked into the stadium. An hour and a half, because Club American fans have completely taken over this bridge, out of their cars, selling scarves, selling jerseys, selling whatever they could sell. And then you get into Subaru Park, and you see nothing but Club America fans walking around the stadium just selling gear. And then during the game, you hear nothing but Club American fans, all in yellow, all around the stadium. It's like, are we sure this is at Subaru Park? Probably not. And then after the game, all the fans ran onto the field, and security were overwhelmed.
Oh, really?
They couldn't do anything about that. And that's for Club America. Now imagine Messi coming. Like, security around MLS is not ready. And I know The Athletic had an article where the mayor of Miami or Fort Lauderdale, I forget which one, said, yeah, we're ready for this. We're going to be prepared. You're not. Yeah. You are not. Nobody is ready for the craziness that Messi's about to bring here. I mean, we see it every time that Argentina plays international duty. There's at least a couple fans that run onto the field to take pictures with Messi. It's going to be 10 times that here in America. And these fans don't care, right? Because they'll take that ban for once in a lifetime opportunity to potentially get a picture with Messi, to touch Messi. They'll take that ban. They don't care. Yeah. They weren't MLS fans to begin with. They're Messi fans. And now for Messi to play in their own backyard, oh, man, nobody's ready for this.
Well, and the crazy part is in our last game that we had here, the last home game, there was like 6 or 7 kids that jumped over. Like,
wasn't that many? I think it was only like 2.
It was like, I saw like 6 or 7, but like 3 of them pussied out halfway on the jump.
Got it.
And then the other kids, they just jumped onto the field like nobody caught them, and they ended up rolling on the ground like idiots. But imagine hungry people that want to be next to Messi and take pictures and talk to him. It's gonna be a circus.
I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm so excited. It's gonna be so fun. It's gonna be so fun. All right, so I guess it's time to transition over to Saturday. Oh, actually, before I do, Chris, one more time. What are you thinking as far as us going on a 7-game losing streak if we lose on Saturday? Before we get into the game, like, are we gonna start addressing this, or is everybody still on cloud nine about Messi and nobody gives a crap if we lose the next 4 games and go into that break on a 10-game losing streak?
I think nobody really cares this year. Like, we got Messi. Whatever we get is whatever that happens. I think everybody's completely cool with taking L after L. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, right? Like, we talked to a couple people. There's some people that say you got to hit the 9th seed for it to be a successful season. Others say, I really don't give a crap what happens. I mean, at this point, there's a lot of people with different opinions. I do think that for us to have a successful season, we have to get the 9th seed. But if we don't, I don't see many people that are gonna be upset with that.
Well, because all the new fans are just worried about Messi, right? And I think everybody's gonna be like, oh, we'll get better players around them next year. I care about the 9th seed. I care about the playoffs this year, and my fear is that we're gonna make a hole so large that we're not gonna be able to get out of. All right, but
Mr. Fax, you gotta enjoy it, man. 7-game losing streak. Just take it. Just take it, brother. Just take it and live with it. You'll learn to be a better fan.
I want to add something else about Jake Callender. You guys were talking about earlier. Looking at his underlying stats for saves that are supposed to be goals, but he's making the saves. He's number 4 in all of MLS. Post shots, expected goals. with a +3-2, which is outstanding. I mean, that means that he's saving 3 shots that should have been goals, and
per game.
that's up there. Yeah, exactly, and that's
Yeah,
up there with the likes of Daniel, who I think is an underrated goalkeeper in San Jose. I mean, it's better than Andre Blake. It's better than Petrovic, who some people argue is the best goalie for New England in MLS. And Jake Callender's number 4 on that list. Yeah, definitely an underrated goalkeeper.
Petrovic is second in saves in the league, so they're neck and neck as far as saves goes. But I don't think that that's a stat that you should be proud of. Like last year, I was telling everybody Blake was the best goalie last year, but he wasn't leading the league in saves because they had a good defense. Like that's not a stat to be proud of, because if you're leading the league in saves, that means your defense sucks.
Big
so,
time.
All right, so let's talk about Philly now. So for those of you that are new to this channel and new to the MLS, Philly was a monster last year. Not only were they a great team, although they lost in the final, they brought back their starting 11 again this year. So everybody assumed, well, this team's going to dominate this year. First 8 games, 2 wins, 2 draws, 4 losses. But I'm assuming, and I'm going to refer to you to tell me if you think that I'm right. This has a lot to do with the fact that you guys were playing so many games because of the CONCACAF Champions League. And I'm assuming that's why you guys ranked up those early losses. Because since you guys stopped playing in that tournament, you guys basically you've lost 1 game. Almost 2 today, but you've lost 1 game since then. Now, is that why you think that you guys started off so slow at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, I mean, historically, the Union have always been a team that starts slow. Obviously, last season was the exception where they started hot right out of the gates, and which was a little bit surprised because Mikel Uwer, who they brought in last season from Brøndby, one of their designated player strikers, he missed some time with an injury, and so he didn't come back. I want to say, I think they tried to bring him back against Montreal, which was one of the first 3 games, and then he aggravated the injury again, and then he came back until May, something like that. But yeah, the point is that he didn't really get adjusted to this team until the summertime with Carranza and Gazdag, who that trio scored the most goals last season in MLS with 49, which I think was up there too, the top 5 most goals ever scored by a trio in MLS. And that's a pretty outstanding stat where it took these guys from the summertime to the end of the season. So you're looking at 3 months for them to score 49 goals together. That was freaking fantastic. And I do think the other part of the reason why the Union started slow was because they're in CONCACAF Champions League. And Jim Curtin mentioned it multiple times at the beginning of the season. We're going to prioritize every single competition. And we all knew that that wasn't going to be the case. I remember coming on this show back in March, I want to say. It's been forever, I feel like.
Yeah.
And we talked about squad rotation, and I don't think the Union actually rotated as much as everybody thought they were going to rotate. And credit to Miami, one of the positive results of the season for Miami. They beat a strong Philadelphia Union squad, and the Union just prioritized CONCACAF Champions League. They for whatever reason just historically get off to a slow start in the league, and we've seen them travel so many times to El Salvador, out to LA, down to Mexico to play Atlas, and there was a lot of traveling by this team early on in the season. And, this is a great time to remind people, you guys have a lot of new listeners to the podcast. This isn't like Europe. North America is huge. You go from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast. It's a 6-hour flight one way. And yeah, you might have a fancy charter plane, but you're still cramped up in a plane. It's not like, okay, you're getting on a bus or on a train and you're on the other side of the country in an hour.
Yeah.
It's not the case at all. Now you got to adjust for the time zone. You have to adjust to the climate, the altitude, and all of that played a factor, I want to say, for the Union, for the reason that they got off to a slow start. And I'm trying to mute myself. I have so many people texting me for this crazy game we just mentioned.
I bet.
I thought I had my notifications turned off on my phone. Obviously, I don't.
We excuse it. Last time you were on, I had the worst internet connection in Dallas, Texas. So thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say, hey, look, we're off to a good start because Daniel, his computer was dying, and so hopefully it's not
Yep.
dying this time.
No, it's good.
Chris cutting in and out, and for most of that show was just Daniel and I, and so yeah, it's my turn to have a little bit of a hiccup. So
Yes.
it all comes full circle. But yeah, that would be the reason why the Union got off to a slow start. But don't discredit what Miami did against the Union early on. They took advantage of a full starting 11 Philadelphia Union team and capitalized on some of the Union's chances, brought it to the Union, and we've seen that throughout the whole season. I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit. The Union start games slow. We saw it against Orlando City tonight, and it happened against Miami too. And so that's something I'm going to be paying attention to on Saturday between these two teams, because Miami, they brought it to the Union last time these two teams met. And okay, yeah, they might be in last place in the East, but you know what? You mentioned it earlier. They need to get as many points as they possibly can to try to get into that playoff spot. Messi can't carry this team if they're 12, 14 points out of a playoff spot. I mean, maybe he can, but it's going to be a tough ask just for Messi to do that alone to get into 9th place. And the results, whether it's a point or 3 points, they've got to start coming from Miami. And so slow starts for the Union. I'm definitely going to be paying attention to that this weekend.
Well, you guys allow a lot of goals in the first 15 minutes, no?
Yeah, 5 goals, which is tied for the most in MLS. That might have changed because more games are going on as we're recording this. But yeah, they were tied with Charlotte for 5 goals given up, which is funny enough. I had one of my buddies that was in Orlando tonight texting me. He's like, what happened to all this talk? Oh, the Union don't concede goals within the first 15 minutes. And last year it didn't happen at all. Like, it was the complete opposite. The Union were scoring a ton of goals in the first 15 minutes. But history showed that the Union always conceded within those first 15 minutes. And now it's happening again this season. And I don't know what it is. I mean, you said it, Dan, that this team is the same as last season. And like, what is it? Mentality? Just why do they get off to a slow start? And my buddy Kyle texted me. He asked Jim Curtin that right now in the press conference. We're recording this live, and Jim Curtin's press conference is going on. So one of my buddies, I was like, hey, can you ask this question? Because you guys asked me to be on this podcast, and
we appreciate you taking the time.
So yeah, so my buddy texted me. He's like, "Oh, you're gonna love Jim's response." So I'm curious to see what Jim had to say to that. But
well, I mean, you guys lost 5 games all year,
all last season. Yeah,
you have 5 losses already, and we're halfway through the season. So obviously, it's like you said, you lost to Miami. We thought it would be heavy rotation, but they didn't rotate. Now I don't know what 11 you guys put out there the weeks leading up to the other Champions League games. I don't know if you guys finally used some rotation, but that wasn't the reason you lost at least one of those games. So you guys have lost 5 games so far, but you guys finally started picking it up. Is it only because you guys didn't have to worry about the travel for Champions League anymore? Like, do you believe that that's why the changes happened? Because you guys went 9 games unbeaten, and you've lost to, who was it? Charlotte, was it?
Orlando. We lost to Orlando at home. What team? When?
No, this past weekend.
Oh, San Jose. Sorry. Yeah,
San Jose. There you go, San Jose. So you lost to San Jose, and that's the only loss since then. So something's finally clicking.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely credit it to the Union just not playing in the U.S. Open Cup or not playing in the CONCACAF Champions League, because I've been saying this a lot on my show. This run has started, if you look at Chicago, and even if you want to look before that, they played in the U.S. Open Cup. They went 120 minutes against Minnesota United, lost in penalties. Union were down 2-0 in that game. They brought it back 2-2, and then the Union went down 3-2, and then they found a way again to make it 3-3, and then they went to penalties. So this team showed a fight in them that, hey, look, it doesn't matter how much we're down by. They've been down by 2 goals, and what do they say? 2-goal leads the most dangerous in soccer, and we saw it against Chicago. The Union were down 2-0, and the Union scored 2 goals to tie that game up 2-2, and then it was just a 9-game unbeaten run from that Chicago game all the way to this past weekend where they lost to San Jose by a score of 2-1. But during that 9-game unbeaten run, the Union had 7 wins, 2 draws, and that tied a club record for most unbeaten games with 9, which they set last year previously. But I thought this was interesting too, where they have 7 wins during that stretch of this season. They had 7 draws instead of 7 wins this season. And so they turned those draws last season into wins this year. And they had 19 goals for, 6 goals against. And 16 of those 19 goals were scored against the Union's front 3 of Daniel Gazdag, Julian Kranza, and Mikhail Ua. 5 for Gazdag, 7 for Kranza, and 4 for Mikhail Ua. And not only were the Union winning at home, but they were finding ways to win on the road. Going to New York Red Bulls, won that game 1-0 because of Daniel Gazdag penalty. Going to Colorado, which has been a difficult place for teams to win at because of the altitude. And the Union decided, we're going to fly out there the night before. And then when we wake up the next morning, it's going to be time for the game. So we're really not going to have to adjust too much for the altitude. And the Union were able to come back in that game against Colorado. And they've been good during that stretch. And San Jose was the only loss, like you said, during that run. And tonight could have been 2 losses back to back, which, okay, maybe Inter Miami is going to feel good about that. Okay. The Union are stumbling here a little bit, but they found that belief in themselves where, we're not down, and they even showed fight last week against San Jose, even though they lost that game 2-1. There was chances, and Daniel, who's been such a underrated goalkeeper in MLS. And I don't know if you guys are watching a ton of MLS Season Pass. I know I'm not, just because I hate that all these games are played at the same time. And then when the West Coast games are going on, you're probably driving back from Inter Miami games, just like I'm driving back from Philadelphia games. And yeah, I can listen to the game through the radio and everything, but it's like, I don't want to do that. I want to digest, listen to my music and whatnot. And I guess you guys are doing a little bit more grieving than Philadelphia fans making that drive back. But this 9-game run's been, for sure. And this 9-game run for the Union's been enjoyable to watch, and nice to see them bounce back tonight against Orlando to make it 2-2.
We do like to watch San Jose because their coach actually used to be the coach at our high school. So
wow, Lucci Gonzalez. I love Lucci.
Yeah, so that's the connection there.
And one of the things I wanted to talk about was the fact that, like, honestly, anytime that we play against Philly, I still get kind of shook because bottom line is Philly's a good team. And even though we won the first game, a couple of differences now from then. I mean, we don't have Mota. He's done. We don't have Gregory. He's also done. We have Coco Jean, who scored a goal that game against you guys. He just got done last week.
Don't get me started on ACL injuries in soccer, especially on turf fields.
Turf. Yeah.
Don't get me started on that topic. I ran it the last 2 episodes on my show about that. Don't get me started on this episode.
And then we also have Robert Taylor, who had like a beautiful blast off the volley, right? And he's always a very good player in terms of, I guess, having his little freestyle moves or having creativity. But other than that,
we have that could create on his own for sure.
Yeah, but other than that, I mean, everybody is like a shell of themselves. Like Pizarro, he just got back from injury. I don't even know if half the people that we had playing you guys are going to be on the team this weekend, because at this point you never know, right? So I don't know. I mean, this isn't in the bag as much as I'd like to feel. Whether you win or lost this game today, I still would have been shook about this game. And then look, 86 is mentioning it also. Arroyo, who filled in for Gregory, who got picked up specifically for his position, that guy's been done also. So like, we got a bunch of garbage. We got a bunch of garbage bags playing soccer, a bunch of janitors, a bunch of food vendors. Like, where are the soccer players at, Danny? Or are we just waiting for Messi to come over here and play soccer and make everybody look beautiful?
That's exactly what they're waiting for. I mean, that's what I'm waiting for. But I don't know, Todd. If I were to tell you that Messi's coming onto a 15th place team in the East, a bunch of young guys, and let's say he's not bringing Busquets or Jordi Alba like everybody's saying, do you think him alone can change that team and those players around him to all of a sudden improve to a playoff team just with his presence? Because I'm having a hard time believing that he can make that much of a difference on his own.
I mean, this isn't 5-on-5 basketball. So like, we got 10 players plus the goalie here.
Yeah, I mean, it's I mean, Messi's going to draw a lot of double teams, triple teams at time, right? And he's a creative player where he's going to be able to see, okay, where the space is on the field, where these players are leaving their position, now slot that ball in. Now the question becomes, okay, do you have the players that can finish off those chances? Do you believe Leo Campana, who's had a rough season compared to last season? Joseph Martinez, okay, is still not the Joseph Martinez he was in Atlanta. Can he finish off those chances? And then you guys mentioned it. You have a lot of young pieces here in the midfield.
Well, look, this is a conversation. This is a conversation we've had in the past. We've said if we brought back Pozuelo, right now we would be a playoff team. And every Inter Miami fan, well, let me not say every, but the majority of Inter Miami fans truly believe that, because where we've lacked is in that final third. And because we've lacked in that final third, we have to push up too high with our fullbacks, which leave us susceptible to the counterattack. And that's how we've given up a lot of those goals, right? Where we had, who was this? It's Kai Kamara, which is like 57 years old, and he beat us on the counter. How old is that guy? But because it was the 93rd minute, and Yedlin, with his newborn son, was gassed and had gotten no sleep over the last couple of weeks. Like, it's been painful to watch our fullbacks go up that high because we have no creativity otherwise. So in that aspect, I think Messi changes the offense a lot because he can create. He can get Joseph into the position that he needs to be, or Campana, kind of like Pozuelo did for Higuain last year. So I do think that he will help a lot. But can he take this team overall from last to 9th or 8th? I don't know. I'm finding it hard to believe.
I mean, you said what, they're 8 points out of 9, I believe you said.
Yes,
they've got to start getting points. I said that earlier, right? I mean, whether it's a point or 3 points. Jim Curtin says this all the time. You got to take care of your business at home, which Miami was a team last season that was dominant at home. We talked about last episode, 6 out of the last 10 games last year, Miami won to get them into the playoffs, and they've got to start winning these home games.
Now we're hot sewage.
Yeah, they're not doing it at home, and doing it on the road's always difficult, but maybe it happens this weekend against the Union with Joe Bendik in the goal. Joe Bendik was horrible tonight against Orlando City. So, I mean, that's one positive for Miami fans to look forward to, that Joe Bendik's probably going to be the goalie. And if it's not Joe Bendik, if they do go with Trent Holden, who they just drafted this year in the Super Draft, which the Philadelphia Union never draft anybody in the Super Draft. I mean, do you really feel comfortable putting a college kid in there in an MLS game? Probably not. I mean, Jim Curtin said as much Monday in his press conference. Yeah, we're going to go with Joe Bendik because he's the veteran guy. He's played over 100 games in MLS, and yeah, that's great and everything that he's played over 100 games, but he shows why he goes from team to team in MLS. He's not a good goalie. He's a great locker room presence, but if you got to rely on him week in and week out to start, which the Union do the next couple of weeks because Andre Blake's going to be missing because he's in the Gold Cup with Jamaica, things can get a little bit rocky here for the Union. So got to take care of the results at home. I believe, though, this is their only home match, and then the next 3 or 4 games are on the road. So, yeah, it has to be a win here this weekend for the Union. But I don't feel confident because Joe Bendik's in the goal. And can Messi turn it around for Miami? The farther and farther they get from that playoff line, I'm going to say he's going to get it close for Miami. But I don't know. I mean, the farther and farther they get out, I mean, if we start saying 9, 10, 11, 12 points out of the playoff line, you might have to look forward to next season. And, okay, yeah, just enjoy that Messi's here. You're seeing him in person. But, yeah, this season's going to be a wash. It was all about getting Messi, right?
Well, and a point that this guy, that Armand Mirza makes.
This guy? What do you mean, this guy? Jesus Christ!
Armand, I didn't read the name. He looks like he wants to sell me a Dodge Charger. Armand, where my Dodge Charger at, buddy? Ownership, I bet rather Messi and 15th place than first place and no Messi. That is gold. Armand literally had the best comment right now because that's facts. And it answers your question right there, Todd. I mean, you don't think so, Danny? I mean, Todd mentioned it. Like, I mean, if we keep losing games and we're dropping more and more, it doesn't seem like.
Well, ownership wants to win. Like, there's more money in playoff games. Like, they don't want to lose. There's business in making the playoffs. There's also business in the spotlight around the world because of Apple TV, which is a great way to watch, is now focused in on Miami. So for Messi's legacy, right? You don't want Messi to come in here and be upset. And just for the franchise altogether, you don't want to look and be embarrassed. You don't want to look bad. Like, you now know that everybody's watching you. Like, everybody was criticizing Miami for losing against, who was it that we lost against? New England? And because everybody was like, "Oh, Messi's team, let's check out Messi's team." And then we got mollywopped. Like, and that was without Messi. Imagine that were to happen with Messi once everybody's watching. And all the stupid stats. You know, if Messi comes and he loses the first 3 games, you know, ESPN with their stupid stats. This is the first time in Messi's career that he loses 3 consecutive games. Like, you know, stupid shit's going to happen like that. So, no, there is absolutely no way that ownership is okay with losing because they don't want that negative stench on their team. Yes, they're happy that they have Messi. Yes, if they don't win the cup, they're going to be okay because they got Messi, but they need to see some positive production. They can't keep seeing this garbage that we've been seeing over the last couple months.
Did you see that Armand has a Dodge Charger? Look at that. I'm on the money, baby.
Hey, Todd.
You are the man, Armand.
Todd, you said that you are fearful because Blake isn't playing and Bendik sucks. Let me ease your fears just a bit, okay? Let the battered Herons make you feel a little better about playing against our Herons. Inter Miami have the second least shots in the league. We do not shoot the ball because we suck. We don't know what to do once we get to the final third.
Yeah,
and until we get Messi, we will continue to suck. Now, Coco Jean, who's playing decent, he is now out. Joseph and Campana don't know what to do with each other. Like, it's been a mess. So overall, you do not have to worry about not having a goalkeeper. I honestly don't think you need a goalkeeper. I honestly believe you could play with 11 men on the pitch and leave the goal open, and we will figure out a way to not get a shot on target, sir.
I mean, we don't have Lassiter anymore.
Let me ease yours. Who do you think is in last place on shots on target? Oh no, it's not us. Okay, forget it. I thought it was us. No. Okay, so we're not last in shots on target, but we're horrible. Yes, it is Chicago. Yep. Chicago has only 48 shots on target all year. That's rough.
Oh, that's bad.
Rough. That's rough. So outside of Bendik, do you have any worries about this game coming up on Saturday? Because we are going to get into predictions soon. So, I'm sorry. And real quick, I'm sorry to cut you off, Todd. Somebody did ask how many points you need to make the playoffs.
Yeah, right, so I would say between 42 to 48. I mean, last season, I was looking at that. I saw that too. Last year, if we would have went to the 8 and 9 playoff teams like we're doing now, Charlotte would have got in with 42 points. And you look years prior, I mean, 47 was around the same as well. So, yeah, I mean, anywhere between that 42, 47 range, you should be good to get in the playoffs.
Well, back in 2018, 36 would have gotten you in. But yeah, so
it's changed.
It's definitely not an exact number. It's top 9, but on average in the low 40s, and you should have a good shot. Which that means we're about 30 points away with 17 games to play. We need to win another 10 games in the next 16, 17.
We need a miracle, basically.
Win your home games and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, what was that, Todd?
You got to win your home games and you'll be fine.
And that's the worst. That's the craziest part versus from last season to this season is that even at home, we're not great. You know, it's terrible to see, honestly. I mean, we've so many games already into the season and we can't even catch a break at home. So that's brutal, Danny.
We have 8 home games left. So
yeah.
All right. So Todd, any reason to worry about Miami this weekend? Like, is there any fear outside of the goal situation?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple, right? We hit on them where the Union they give up early goals. We don't have to beat that drum anymore. I mean, the Union have conceded the first goal in 10 out of 18 games this season, so more than half of their games. And during that stretch, they're 3 wins, 6 losses, 2 draws. But at home, they've only done that 2 times out of those 10 games where they're 1-1. So the Union don't typically concede first at home. So, okay, maybe that's a moot point because, you know, this game's played at Subaru Park. And when the Union are at home, they score the first goal in 5 games and they're undefeated in those 5 games. So I don't know. I mean, Probably not much outside of those 2 points that I just mentioned. The Union, this is the first time that they've played the Diamond in a while because Ali Bedoya was out for a month with a quad strain. And so Jim Curtin said, yeah, he's back now. He's on the bench tonight, played a couple minutes tonight against Orlando City. So it'll be interesting to see, all right, does he get to start against Miami over the weekend, or do they still keep him on the bench? Because when Bedoya was out, the Union switched up to a 3-5-2 formation, which fans and media members alike have been calling for a 3-5-2 for years. The Union have had good center backs, and Damian Lowe has been definitely the best player the Union have acquired this season.
Yes. Thank you for bringing him up because I meant to bring him up. So Damian Lowe, you guys are happy with the acquisition of Damian
100%. Yeah. And if you would have told, I think we talked about this, or there were so many podcasts I was on at the beginning of the season, and they were asking me what player I was most excited that the Union acquired. And I said Joaquin Torres. He's been the worst. And maybe, it's hard for me to say Andres Pereira has been the worst just because he hasn't been playing. And I don't know if there's an issue with him and Jim Curtin. Jim Curtin doesn't really give us much information when we ask about that. Yeah. Part of it too, I'm sure, is, learning the 4-4-2 diamond is difficult, where Pereira was in Orlando where they were playing with 2 center defensive midfielders. And when you're playing as one of the outside eights, one of the shuttlers, you have to learn those pressing cues, when to pitch, where to press, when to press. And some players, I guess, it's harder for them to understand that than others. And I'm not saying that's the issue, because Jim Curtin literally won't say anything. He just says, he'll get his chances. Tonight he didn't play at all because he had an illness. So we'll see. Will he be available against Inter Miami? Not that he would play anyway, but Damian Lowe has been 100% a stud for the Union. Played in 12 games so far this season, 10 starts, had 2 man-of-the-match performances in CONCACAF Champions League against Alianza and Atlas. He has 2 goals on the season, scored his first MLS goal last week or last 2 weeks ago. I forget the last time, 10 days, I think, is when the Union last played, not counting tonight. Scored against San Jose, and then he scored in the Champions League, and he's looked really, really good when playing in a back 3. Playing in a back 4, all right, we've seen a little bit of issues, but he's primarily played in that back 3, and that's been good for the Union because Jacob Glesnes, Jack Elliott, both of those guys don't have pace, and that's something that Damian Lowe offers. We've seen, whether it be Atlas, where they're breaking, or sorry, not Atlas, Atlas. They're breaking on the counterattack, and Damian Lowe's coming out of nowhere, closing down that chance, and blocks a shot, intercepts a ball for the Union, tackles the ball, whatever. He's been good at that regard. His size, whether it's defending set pieces or attacking set pieces, both of his goals came off of set pieces. The one negative, though, we've seen him have a couple of mistakes. The Union really haven't asked him to distribute a lot. It's always been Jacob Glesnes and Jack Elliott. So I think the Union are aware of that, he's the weaker passer of the ball compared to the other 2 center backs. And so you keep your better ball players on the ball and keep Damian Lowe off the ball as much as possible. And they've done a good job with that. But the issues have been he's given up a penalty in Colorado, which was 100% a penalty. And then he would have given up a penalty against New York City, but Gabby Pereira scored the goal before they could give the penalty. So that gets waived off, no penalty. So I guess Damian Lowe's a little bit fortunate there. But I would argue that neither one of those were Damian Lowe's mistakes, because both of those chances came from the Union turning over the ball, and now the Union are rushing back. It's chaotic defending, and Damian Lowe's going in with a rushing challenge. But, it's been more good than bad. Those are the only 2 negative moments that stand out in 12 games from Damian Lowe, and he won't be here this weekend because he's away on international duty, just like Andre Blake with Jamaica in the World Cup. So that makes me question, all right, will we go back to the diamond like we saw tonight? Jim Curtin said, with Bedoya when he was out, we just want to get our best 11 on the field. Damian Lowe is one of our best 11, Jim Curtin said. So we go and play 3 in the back. And the Union have got results playing 3 in the back. But yeah, it's crazy, right? You played Damian Lowe next to center backs, next to players that are actually good soccer players, and Damian Lowe doesn't look as bad as he did in Miami. It's crazy how that works out.
The thing is, he was our best center back last year. I mean, we were playing 4 in the back. He was one of the 2 center backs, and
yes, he was the better one.
and he was the best. And like I was okay having him. I wanted him to be our third center back, and if we played 5 in the back, he could be one of the 3 center backs.
Exactly. And he's good as a third center back for the
yes.
Union. You ask him for an occasional spot start, that's fine. You want to play him in a back 3, that works just as well because he's playing next to 2 other center backs. He's playing next to Kai Wagner, who's one of the best, if not the best, left back in MLS. You have Jose Martinez, who's one of the best, if not the best, defensive midfielders in MLS. And Damian Lewis is going to do all right, and he has for the most part.
Before we get into the predictions for this weekend, I did get a couple answers back about the supporters group's question. All right, so everything is still kind of unclear. They usually get 150 tickets given to them to split between the supporters groups. And usually the stadium that they're going to decides the prices. They usually get charged about $35 to $40 per person. They're expecting that if those tickets are still allotted, which they're hoping it is, right? They haven't gotten any confirmation, that they're expecting that obviously those prices are going to go a bit up. Now, they weren't able to answer if they are allowed to resell those tickets or if it has to be just those. I don't know if anybody's going to police themselves, but I didn't get any clear answer for that. But yeah, they're expecting to continue getting those 150 tickets that kind of go between all the supporters groups.
Yeah, and it's kind of like what I said before. It's, they have an allotted amount of tickets. They're going to keep it priced at a pretty decent rate for the supporters that pay whatever premium it is to be in the supporter group.
Right. But the stadiums get to select how much they charge. For example, they were telling me that in Austin, they charge them $70 per person.
Yeah, Austin's one of the worst in all MLS, which is a joke.
Oh,
and
really?
They're one of the newer teams in MLS as well.
Yeah. Well, they said that they were upset that they charge $70 per person. Wow. And I would assume with Messi, I hope Inter Miami doesn't play in Austin again anytime soon because they're going to be charging an arms and a leg. But yeah, the stadium decides how much.
Well, Austin tries to be a little hip and cool and stuff, and all the hipsters want to live out.
Because of Anthony Precourt. Look, he tried to take the crew out of Columbus, and of course he's still gonna act the way that Anthony Precourt acts, and he's gonna upsell his own fans, but he's definitely gonna take advantage of away fans. That's for sure.
All right, so let's get into the predictions. Prediction time, Todd. Now, you were very honest last time, and you said, I think Philly's going to lose. Now, we all agreed, but we all thought that it was going to be because you guys didn't play your strong 11, right? Now, but we were right. So let's give ourselves some credit. We were right. I don't care how we were right. So what do you see coming this Saturday?
The Todd father's going to bring the pain now. You know that, right?
Oh, he has to. I mean, if he's going to be honest about it, he has to.
Yeah, I mean, the Union don't lose at home. I think that's clear. The only loss this season came against Orlando City, which is funny enough. Both games against Orlando have come through a international break, and the Union tonight able to get a draw, lost at home, gave up 2 early goals, and that's going to be the key. And I know you guys say that Miami doesn't shoot a lot, they don't create a lot of chances.
They're trash.
Look, dude, all it takes is the Union not to be there mentally the first 15 minutes, just like we saw Pizarro first minute of the game had a chance against the Union down in Miami. Who's to say that doesn't happen again? Joseph Martinez had a chance a couple minutes after. Who's to say that doesn't happen again? And it's got to be mental, right? It's got to be mental why the Union aren't locked in the first 15 minutes, but it's at home, and this team's super depleted. And you guys heard me. High praise for Mota and Gregory, 2 of the most underrated midfielders in MLS. Mm-hmm. Both not going to be here this game. Both done for probably the season. Yeah, this could be a bloodbath. 4-0 maybe. I'm not going to give a specific score, but the Union aren't going to just score 1 goal. I'll leave it at that. They're probably not going to just score 2 goals. 3+.
Julian Carranza hasn't scored on Inter Miami yet. If I'm correct,
he's due, right?
He's due. He hasn't. He's due. He has 9 goals.
Hasn't scored in 2 games either.
So I think that and this is a take. This is a take. I'm predicting a Julian Carranza hat trick.
Wow.
That's how I think Saturday goes down. I think that we lose 3-0 and all 3 come from Julian Carranza.
Wow. I'm here for it.
Oh,
Well,
I know you are.
I think it's going to be an embarrassment. I think it is going to be like 3-1 or 4-1. I don't think we're getting more than a goal. I think it's going to be another embarrassing game for all the new Messi fans to watch this team in embarrassment and be like, what the hell is happening in South Florida? And what is Messi walking into?
But I think it's more than just the fact that we're not good, because that's part of it, right? We haven't showed to be a good side. We just haven't. But I think to add to the fact that we're not necessarily the best roster mentally, with everything going, the circus that has been Inter Miami, and we've only played one game since the announcement, or two technically with the Open Cup. Like, do you think these players are in it? Like, if Pizarro gets on the field, he knows he's going to get bought out in the next week or two. Like, he's not necessarily in it mentally. Joseph and Campana, they're like, oh, well, I can't wait till Messi's here. Look at these scrubs that are trying to give me a service. They suck. I think that it's like a recipe for disaster. The fact that we had Messi announced, and it's like, all right, now good luck in the next 2 months until he gets here. Like, it sucks, especially since we have 4 more regular season games to go before he actually arrives. So I think that I think that it's going to be a rough go on Saturday. Austin, I think, and I'm going to tell you the games that are coming up. We have Philadelphia on Saturday, obviously. Then we have the following Saturday, we have Austin at home, which is the only game.
I think that game is going to. I think that's the game when we're going to win. I think that's the whole reason it's going to be embarrassing this Saturday.
I think that there's a chance we beat Austin. And then we have Columbus on July 4th, which, Todd, by the way, I keep saying, and I really do believe that Messi will get introduced at halftime that game. So if you have a chance, buy tickets for that game so you can sell them afterwards. And then we have DC United July 8th. Oh, my God, we have 5 games. Oh, my God, it's not 4, it's 5. We have a DC United, and then we have St. Louis, which is the best team in the West. There's a real chance that if we don't beat Austin, we could lose 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We can go on an 11-game losing streak before Messi gets here. That would be ridiculous, man. Really ridiculous.
And the worst part is that you got Lucas here, just shaming Messi. Why are you shaming Messi, Pizarro, man? Why are we doing that?
Todd, how awesome would it be if Messi makes his debut at the All-Star game?
Dumb.
Of course, dumb. I don't want that. Of course not.
It's a Miami player. Let him get introduced at Miami, not the freaking All-Star game participating in the skills challenge. Please.
Of course not. Come on now. I was joking, man. I don't want that. I want to be.
Hey, some of your people, some of your listeners might be like, yeah, let's do it. The people down in DC, they're going to say, yeah, let's be the first to see Messi. Of course, these people want that. And I live in Maryland, right? Like, I have friends that are saying, are you going to go to the MLS All-Star game? Messi might be there. No, I'm not going to go to a freaking All-Star game. I don't care if Messi's going to be down there or not. One, it's DC traffic. And I don't know if I told this story last time I was on this podcast, why I wasn't a DC United fan and why I'm a Philadelphia fan. It's because the traffic in DC sucks. Yes, mileage-wise, it's closer. Yes, mileage-wise, it's closer to go down to DC. But I just have to hop on I-95, straight shot up to Chester, get off. And it's an easier drive, a couple more miles than going down to DC. But once you reach DC, dude, you can be sitting in traffic. Like, you could be in DC sitting in traffic for 45, 50 minutes, and you're a couple blocks away from the stadium because traffic's that bad. And I did not want to deal with that every single week, every other week. And I've been down to DC the last couple years to see Philadelphia play them. And I dread it every time I go down there because, one, the parking's super expensive in DC, and the traffic's the worst. And yeah, that's all major cities, but it's the one positive of not playing in Philadelphia with Union playing in Chester. Yes, a lot of traffic. Yeah, it's terrible down there too. I mean, the farthest I've been is Fort Lauderdale, and I guess that doesn't compare to Miami's traffic. But man, any major city's traffic sucks, and so that's why I was like, well. Let's see what stadium can I get to faster, and it was Philadelphia, and so that's how I became a fan.
That is one hell of a way to start liking the team. But
hey,
it's what you got to think about when you're in this country, right? We were talking about traveling from the East Coast to the West Coast. You got to fly to all these different states. And when I was in Colorado, I met this other journalist out there, Jose. Shout out Jose. And I was thinking about their rivals is Real Salt Lake, and this is a 5-hour drive. over the mountains to Utah from Colorado. They're right next to each other, and it takes 5 hours just to get there. Where we're a little bit fortunate here on the East Coast where we can drive up I-95, hit New York City, hit New England, hit New York Red Bulls, head down south, hit
speak for
Charlotte,
yourself.
hit DC. You guys have Orlando.
We have Orlando.
A couple
That's
hours.
That's it.
3 hours. That's it. We ain't got nothing else.
So you guys are in the same boat, right? With Real Salt Lake in Colorado.
Basically.
So yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? It's a real thing to think about when you're trying to travel. It's like this country's so big, and maybe people talk about we need more teams in MLS. What about a MLS team in Tampa? Why not?
I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that at all.
I actually see that coming in the future, especially with Messi coming. I feel like Tampa.
How many teams do you want in this league, though? We're about to hit 30.
Every single sport has like 2, 3, 4 teams.
Bring them all in. Don Garber's not going to turn down. What are we at now? $500 million to join MLS?
No. Yeah,
insane amount of money.
We have 30 teams with San Diego.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll probably go to 32.
32 is the most we have in any American sports league, which is the NFL.
But Don Garber's not going to turn down $500 million each time. I mean, it's only going to keep going up. So you're going to have teams paying $750 million. Don Garber's not going to say no to that. So you're definitely going to put a team in Las Vegas. That's for sure. Are you going to put a team out in Phoenix? Potentially, you're going to put a team out in Detroit. Potentially, look at the teams out west. There's not a ton of teams other than the California teams that, are close enough. I mean, the East Coast, we're very fortunate here. Tampa, I can really, really see that happening. Midwest needs some teams. So I don't know. I mean, there's definitely areas where you can expand. But I don't know. I mean, 32 sounds good to me. That's what I've always said on my podcast. But
I mean, 32 sounds like I mean, we should get rid of one of those New York teams. I don't see what's the point of having.
Let's get rid of. I hate
get rid of the Red Bulls.
Let's get rid of City. City don't have a field. Let's get rid of City.
But they're gonna get a field.
Maybe.
Who the hell? What? And
maybe.
Then, Mr. Krabs.
I'll believe it when I see it built.
Stop making people go to New Jersey. Nobody needs to go to New Jersey. Don't put anybody through that.
And nobody wants to go upstate to New York either.
No,
upstate. It's in the city.
Nobody wants to deal with that traffic.
He wants like a team in Albany or something.
Lucas said, "Get ready to sell your tickets for 100K." Todd, I have a dilemma, and we can start closing it out with this dilemma. So everybody keeps talking about July 21st and how expensive it's going to be to go to that game and how much I can sell my tickets for. Right? I'm in the 4th row, right behind the goal, and I have 2 tickets. One for myself, one for my wife. Now, I'm thinking I possibly go to this game and just flip my wife's ticket. Do you think that the money will get me something good enough that I can buy her to avoid a divorce? Like, at what point do you start considering selling? Well, you said you're gonna sell it for like
$100. I would sell mine too.
Yeah,
what's the number? What's the number that we need? The over under for you to sell the ticket, your wife's ticket, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not selling mine.
Yeah.
Look, I'm a sap for that stuff. I'm a sap for those big historical moments and those memories. Like, I still like to talk about the fact that I was at WrestleMania 25 for that Shawn Michaels Undertaker match. Like, I'm a sap for that stuff. So that's me. What's the number for you, Todd? Because I don't know. I don't know what to do.
I'm selling, dude. I told you guys.
But at what price? Like, you set it for like $100.
If I tell you
like
800, no.
Are you serious?
But if all you were getting is 100.
Let me throw a number.
All I was getting was 100. Am I selling? No.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. What's
let's
the number?
let's say you're getting 750. What are we doing?
Where your seats are, dude? I'm selling 1,000 each. That's what I would sell mine for, and I'm right behind the goal too. 1,000 each. Like, look,
well, my seats are actually row 1.
Crazy enough, and my seats are row 3, right behind the goal, and people will pay that. People will 100% pay that. And we talked about this earlier, and this is a great way to end the podcast if you guys want to end it here, right? People will pay anything. They will take the bands. They are not MLS fans. They are Messi fans. Now, here's the issue, right? Where Okay, how's your supporters? If you're in a supporter section, how are they going to feel about
my wife is
you
apparently
selling
watching.
the ticket?
Oh, go, I dare you. Oh, okay.
Oh, caught in 4K.
I wasn't sure. I didn't know she was watching. All right. What were you saying, Todd? Sorry.
I don't know. I mean, what a surprise to have here on the podcast, right? Your wife's watching the podcast, and
welcome.
Wow,
maybe I'll sell my ticket and let her go. Is that?
Does she want to go? Does she want to see Messi in his first game?
Yeah, man. Look, I introduced her to soccer, and she fell in love with soccer. She's all into it now. So she's.
Well, I mean, look at what Hazel's saying. Sell both and buy a cruise to Europe.
Yeah.
What about that?
But I'm a sap for all that stuff, man.
Look,
like
look,
in the future, when you're like, oh,
Messi?
do you remember Messi's first game? I was like, yeah, I was there. I was there. I don't know. I'm a sucker for that stuff. But there is a number. Like if people start offering me like 6, 7, 8,000, then I'm like, yeah, I think I might have to sell that at that point. But if it's like 1,000 or 2, I think I might swallow that and just go. I don't know.
Look at Lucas, 500.
500. No way. No way I'm selling that for 500.
Look,
I sold my Barca tickets last year for 600. We got Barcelona came to town to go ahead and destroy Inter Miami. And I was like, why would I want to watch Inter Miami get destroyed? Like, I'm in it for the badge. I'm not in for Messi. I'm in it for Inter Miami. Now, I'm glad that Messi's coming. But last year, they're like, you're not going to go watch Barcelona? It's like, no. I don't want to watch my team get slaughtered. So I sold them for $600.
And we sold those seats for good money.
Yeah, man. I got my season tickets paid off from just won that game.
And that's exactly why I would sell my tickets. Okay, look, full disclosure, like I have season tickets and I share them with my sister, so I never use my seat because I'm always in the press box covering the team. And that's fine. You know, I'm taking a loss on those tickets. But if I sold my tickets for this Messi game, all right, now my season tickets are paid off for the whole year. The next year too. Treat yourself someplace nice. I love traveling different MLS stadiums, so now I can go to a couple games, you know, that's going to play for
you can, not us. I can't go see Messi anywhere else. The tickets are even more expensive over there.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
We'd have to catch a random game.
Yeah, you guys are gonna have to go to random MLS games now. Sorry, you guys can't go and travel to see Inter Miami anymore. You guys talked about it last episode, wanting to come to Philadelphia. Not
an option anymore.
You guys can't come anymore. I'm sorry, guys. I mean, we would love to have you, but you guys are gonna get priced.
I don't know, Todd. Todd, I heard that you have this one ticket that you just never use. So
let's go ahead and talk, right? We'll talk money. But yeah, look, people, like, as soon as it was announced that Messi was signing for Inter Miami, Union fans, the smart ones, knew that he wasn't going to be there, so they're selling their tickets in the supporter section, 200 plus, and people are paying this, right? And I was a couple hours behind because I'm working, and so I have my tickets listed right now still, I think, at 140 a piece. Nobody's bid. I know a couple people that have sold at that price. Nobody's bid yet because I think now people are coming around realizing, oh, Messi's really not going to be at this game. Yeah. But like at the start, like people, $200 each for this ticket. I was like, wow, like this could have paid for one full season ticket if I would have hopped on right away. My sister's like, yeah, go ahead, sell the other ticket, sell my ticket. I don't care. Like, yes, it would be cool to see Messi, but obviously he's not going to be there. And like we had this discussion too, right? If Miami do somehow get into the playoffs, do we sell the playoff tickets? Probably. Probably.
Look, it's that first look. I'm gonna tell you, we had our guest, right? It's IMCF Traveler. Go follow him on Twitter if you haven't already, guys, in the chat, and Todd too. He's great with the info, right? I don't know who he knows on the inside, but he knows somebody. And we had him on Monday, June 5th, and he said, "Get ready to buy your Messi jerseys before Friday." Like he basically told us, "Hey, by the end of this week, it's happening." And I told him, get the hell out of here. It's not really happening. But, by the way, you guys should tune in every Monday and Wednesday because we get stuff like that happening. But, so, because he said that, it got me thinking. I was like, you know what? Maybe I should buy those. Because he told us July 21st would be his debut. I was like, maybe I should buy those tickets just in case. So, when I went to buy them, my seats were no longer available, which is row 1. So, I got row 4. And I told my wife, I was like, I'm going to get 2 tickets. Should I get more? She's like, if you think. And then I got scared. I was like, but what if he doesn't come in? I just buy these random tickets. At least if I buy 2 tickets, I know I'm going to at least go to the game. So what I did is I bought tickets to that game. And then 4 days later when Atlanta comes. So I got those 2 tickets. I go ahead and I call Chris. And I'm like, you know what, Chris? Maybe we should listen to Trav. maybe you should go in and buy these tickets. Chris, like a
I wait.
dummy,
I wait
waited.
like 30 minutes.
No, you didn't
and
wait
those-
30 minutes.
It was like 30, 45 minutes. Those seats ended up disappearing pair by pair until all of a sudden Ticketmaster just crashed. And then I couldn't find any seats.
And they took all the tickets off sale. Like, you cannot buy tickets to that game right now. You can't buy tickets to that game, to the July 4th game. You can't. It just, everything just disappeared. And I mean, I got lucky, and that's why I have my tickets. But Chris lost out, and you snooze, you lose.
Yeah.
So my wife might lose.
Yeah.
All right. As always, Todd, you are actually, you're the second person to come on here twice, because Tommy Two-Time came twice. But we appreciate you coming right after, especially after such a good win. Oh, now it felt like a win, probably a draw. Yeah.
And Mika had a chance. I don't know if you guys saw that, to win the game. It hits off the crossbar.
Off the post. Yeah. So I'm sure you wanted to live that up. I'm sure like you said, your phone was going crazy, and instead of addressing all that and asking your questions, you came on with us. So we appreciate you for that. If anybody wants to follow up with the Philadelphia Union, especially any of the new MLS fans that want to hear about one of the better teams in the league, where could they find you?
Yeah, you can follow the social medias at Free Kick Pod on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. Definitely don't use Facebook. I feel like nobody uses Facebook anymore, but it's an option for all the old heads out there. And I don't even know. Like, I think I haven't linked to my Instagram, but I'm not sure, honestly. And you can check out the podcast by searching The Free Kick wherever you get your podcast: Apple, Google, Spotify. It'll definitely pop up. And if you want to follow me personally, it's at It's a Todd's Life on Twitter and Instagram. And then I started my YouTube page finally, where I do goal breakdowns of all the goals scored in the games that the Union play. And you can find that by searching, youtube.com/freekickpod. And yeah, I appreciate you guys having me back here, and especially adjusting to the time, right? You guys normally start your shows at 9. You're like, nah, we can do 9:30. And a little bit late getting in here because we had 7 minutes of stoppage time. And it's like, man, I've got to watch the rest of the stoppage time after
we understood.
Golasso by Jose Martinez. And you guys are great. And I think I said it last time too. Like, I love your thumbnails that you guys do on all your YouTube videos. I'm like, man, I've gotta like take a page out of your books for my thumbnails on YouTube, because
it definitely helps.
It 100%. It's all visual, right? And then getting a good title too helps as well, I feel like. And I'm like, the video,
just throw Messi in there.
Care. Yeah. Oh, I know. Just mention Messi anywhere. Do you guys see now we're gonna get sidetracked again.
Go for it.
Somebody I saw somebody made a fake Messi video on YouTube. It said his debut against Philadelphia Union, like 3-0 or whatever,
and his first goal.
Yeah, exactly. And that like absolutely blew up on YouTube. I'm like, of course, right? You just put in Messi and then a picture of Messi in the thumbnail, and you're gonna get a lot of hits. But yeah, if you guys want to follow me, that's everywhere.
Listen, they were talking about Nick Marsman's Spider-Man bite, and they didn't say Nick Marsman got bit by a spider. They said Messi's
new teammate.
Like, what? This guy might not even be on the team by the time Messi gets here. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. And one last thing I wanted to ask both of you, because I just randomly thought about it. What do you think about this whole Marvel MLS partnership that just randomly got announced?
I think it's creative. I think it's creative. I think it's a creative reach.
Do you think it's going to be like an actual kit, though, or is it going to be like the warm-up kits that they just do random warm-up kits all the time?
Yeah, I think warm-ups.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking also.
I think it's a creative reach. I think that Marvel has a lot of fans, both older and newer, older and younger people. So I feel like it's not a bad angle that they're taking. I don't think so.
And I saw that this mock-up of a Captain America type jersey, it looks pretty interesting. If they're gonna announce it officially, it'll probably be soon, so that they could put that out for July 4th. So we'll see about that. All right. Well, again, Todd, thank you. Everybody in the chat, as always, you guys are the best. I appreciate you guys sticking with us all the way to the end. If you are on audio and you listen all the way to the end, thank you, and appreciate you guys also. As always, like and subscribe, all that other good stuff. And Chris, do you have anything else for the people?
Get online and look up Todd the God stuff. It's the Todd Father. All right, guys, show some freaking respect. All right,
for sure.
Show some freaking respect.
Oh, God.
All right,
you're wearing the shirt.
Yes.
Oh, and also stop by batteredfans.com if you are a new Inter Miami fan, you need some Inter Miami gear. Batteredfans.com. It got you with your black and pink stuff. I'm gonna throw some Philadelphia Union stuff in there for you too, also, Todd. All right, guys. Thank you very much for listening all the way to the end, and we will catch you on Monday when we're on a 7-game losing streak. Yes, we're the only team that has never drawn. Todd, has there been a season when you go a full 34 games and you don't draw? I have to look that up because I have a feeling we might do that.
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm not sure.
I'm
Putting
gonna
me on the
have
spot.
I'm gonna have to look it up. And drop hats, not yet. I'm not on the hat game yet. We got the battered Herons hats, so we got those. But until then, we will talk more about the hats, the shirts, and all that other stuff on Monday. Until then, have a good one, guys.